It seems to me, first of all, from what I understand from doctors, that's really rare. If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
And when it comes to establishing your worldview, I was curious, what newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
But like what one specifically, I'm curious that you...
all of them, any of them that have...
Can demonic spirits attach themselves to inanimate objects? The answer is yes.
Welcome to Twat Waffle of the Week.
Welcome. As I stated in the last episode of TWATS, there was more to come, and I did get around to doing it, so here we are. These stories are a bit more involved than what I normally do, so they were relegated to the If I Had Time department. The Satanic Temple is at it again, and when I say that, I mean in a good way. Quote,
"The move to host the after-school Satan Club at Joyner Elementary comes as a direct response to the Good News Club, an evangelical after-school organization which applied to use 3 Guilford County schools last month."
End quote. And if I remember correctly, this is taking place in Texas. According to the source, quote,
"On Tuesday afternoon,
being the 26th,
Nora Shapta with Guilford County Schools told TCB that the requests for renting Guilford County school facilities by both the Good News Club and the After-School Satan Club were under review. Neither is authorized to use Guilford County school facilities at this time. GCS is currently reviewing with its legal counsel how flyers for non-school sponsored clubs and events are distributed, as well as the district's obligation to grant organizations equitable access to our public facilities." Shapta's statement read.
end quote. It seems the Guilford County School District did not take the case from 2001 Good News Club v. Milford Central School very seriously. GNC v. Milford held that when a government operates a limited public forum, it may not discriminate against speech that takes place within that forum on the basis of the viewpoint it expressed. In this case, religious speech. And yes, the Satanic Temple does target school districts that allow evangelical or conservative Christian clubs in their schools to offer an alternative after-school program. Knowing this, it's important to note, quote,
"In response to the school district's possible change in policy, Bobby E. Fowler, the state director of the Child Evangelism Fellowship of North Carolina, Incorporated, sent school board members and the superintendent a letter advocating to let Satanic Temple use school facilities. Although CEF strongly disagrees with what Satanic clubs teach, we do agree that the Supreme Court ruling applies to them as well," Fowler notes.
end quote. A continuation of a story that I touched upon in the previous TWATS episode. It seems the furry debacle is, or has, become quite widespread. What started in Nebraska has now hit Minnesota, has gone from the pulpit to state legislators. Steve Drazkowski, Eric Lucero, and Tim Miller, who happen to be all Republicans in the ensuing story. According to PolitiFact, quote,
"School districts in Iowa, Michigan, and Nebraska have debunked claims that they are providing litter boxes in bathrooms.
End quote. Also, other furry claims in Wisconsin and Texas. Gee, all GOP strongholds. Imagine that. As the new civil rights movement notes, quote,
these are grown adults, elected officials standing in the Minnesota People's House and spreading these ridiculous falsehoods.
end quote.
There is something going on in our schools, according to this, something called furry. And I think it's spelled F-U-R-R-Y. I looked it up on Google here. Oh, I got to get back into my computer. It's described to me that we have kids in our schools that believe that they are animals. And they are identifying, I'm told, as animals. Identifying as animals. They think they're a cat. A cat. They put tails on and they demand that they have a litter box in the school. Has anybody else heard that? Have you heard about this furry thing and what? I mean, your district and mine are a long ways away, but I've talked to others here. Tell us what you know about this. I've got the dictionary. It's in the dictionary on Google, Madam Speaker.
When I heard about this, I heard that they were actually cutting holes in the uniforms for tails. And then in some cases, the students were putting on fake tails. And in some cases, one of the parents was responding to what was happening in the school, where a child that believed themselves to be a cat didn't have a physical tail, but had an imaginary tail. And they were sitting at, I think it was a lunch, the table in the lunchroom, and this imaginary tail was there, and the student came up and sat down, and the child that believed themselves to be a cat screamed, "You just sat on my tail." That was imaginary. It didn't exist.
In my district, and I won't even name the school, I will say in my district, I had a pastor come to me, and he said he is being told that in the one school district, and I'm not saying this is the case, we don't know, it's unconfirmed, but he is being told by multiple people that there's a litter box in one of the locker rooms, or bathroom, that's my understanding.
I may have missed this little factoid concerning Roger Stone. Not only is he a whack job, but now a religious one at that. In other words, he saw the grift and is taking it for all it's worth. Quote,
Stone, who was convicted by a jury on 7 counts of lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstruction in relation to Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, claims to have become a dedicated Christian because God used Trump to pardon him for his crimes. In this capacity, Stone claims to have developed a new appreciation for the importance of waging spiritual warfare
through prayer. End quote.
We who believe, we can close the portal, but we can only close it through prayer, massive prayer, millions of Christians praying to close the portal. If you look closely, it's like a swirling cold. I've tried to find, some natural explanation, reflection, or an aerostat balloon for weather. No, I sent a personal friend down there. He thought I was crazy. I said, "Hey, do me a favor, go down there, a regular digital camera, and see what you see." And he said,
"We have that." And Roger, how long ago did they take that picture? Roughly,
those were sent to me by my friend John Ardwood. I sent another guy down because I wanted to be absolutely sure. I'm not interested in embarrassing anybody here, as myself. But these pictures are only several weeks old.
Okay, so while you're talking, Emily we have 3 of them from you. There's only a couple weeks old, several weeks old, you said. And remember, what we just showed you a few minutes ago is months old, 3 or 4 months at least.
Yeah.
So Emily, while you're talking, Roger, show those 3 photos that your friends took There's that circular thing.
There you can see it. It's very, very clear. It doesn't move day or night. It's harder to see during the day, but you see it at night. I'm absolutely convinced about the inherent, there it is again, about the inherent evil of what's going on in the White House, what's going on in the country. And I think it's imperative that people know about this, that people of good faith, that Christians know about this, and we begin a national, essentially a prayer assault to close the portal.
That's good. Now, there's one during the day that it's harder to see, but that's
you can see it.
It's there. It's right there above the White House. So
it's always above that gable. You notice that?
Yeah. Oh,
it's right above the gable.
It is. Now, Roger, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're talking about prayer, that it needs prayer.
We have to close the portal. That's what this is about. We now, as Christians, our obligation is to close the portal, which is essentially to drive Satan away. We were born for this moment.
Yeah,
I have to believe that.
For sure.
I've been preparing this for this moment my entire life without even knowing it. I just thought I was a political warrior, but this is no longer a war in the political realm.
That's right.
And I do know how it comes out because I know how the Bible comes out. But I don't know exactly what the plan is, but I do know that closing this portal is crucial to victory.
Yeah.
And I want others to talk about it. I want others to see it. You can look it up online. You can go to that live camera. It's up every night, folks.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take it down, by the way. I predict to you they'll now take it down so people can't see it.
Right.
But this is not some practical joke. This isn't some conspiracy theory. I'm absolutely convinced that this is it's demonic. It is a satanic portal. It is access to this earth by those who are evil, and only by closing it will we be successful in saving this nation under God.
Gotta hand it to Roger. He knows how to play the grift, and he plays it well. The merging of politics and spirituality is a dangerous mix. So this story is a perfect example of Trump's claimed voter fraud. The issue? McKee is a Republican. Quote,
according to the New York Daily News, a 64-year-old woman now living in California was given probation instead of jail time as prosecutors wanted after she confessed she used her dead mother's ballot to vote in the 2020 presidential election in Arizona. The report notes that a tearful Tracy K. McKee admitted that she cast the fraudulent vote for her deceased mother in Maricopa County, the same county that conducted the months-long and expensive investigation into election fraud at the behest of former President Donald Trump that did not go his way. The report states that McKee was handed 2 years of probation, hit with a fine, and ordered to perform community service in lieu of the 30 days in jail prosecutors asked for. End quote.
just a note, an Associated Press review of every potential case of voter fraud in the 6 battleground states disputed by former President Donald Trump has found fewer than 475 cases, a number that would have made no difference in the 2020 presidential election. Quote,
I support military aid to Ukraine, but I want to say that we would not even be in Ukraine if President Biden did not shut down the Keystone Pipeline on the first day of his presidency, Watkins replied. Because now that that's shut down, we have to get our oil, and we're getting it from Russia, and we're getting all these problems through Ukraine that would not have happened if Biden did not shut down the Keystone Pipeline, he added.
End quote. A entirely incorrect statement by yet another GQP political candidate, Ron Watkins, who is running for Arizona's 2nd Congressional District. Thankfully, he was corrected on stage by Walt Blackman, I believe the incumbent, also running in that race. Quote,
That is not why Russia went into Ukraine. They went into Ukraine because Ukraine wanted to be part of NATO. Listen, you're trying to work on a national stage, and you don't even know why the war started in Ukraine. It had nothing to do with the Keystone Pipeline.
End quote. And Blackman is absolutely correct. Keystone had nothing to do with what's happening at this moment. And I'm sorry. Democrats can bitch all they want and have every right to. It's about damn time the Republicans put a stop to the idiocy coming from their own party.
Military aid to Ukraine. What do you think, Ron?
I support military aid to Ukraine, but I want to say that we would not even be in Ukraine if President Biden did not shut down the Keystone Pipeline on the first day. Because now that that's shut down, we have to get our oil, and we're getting it from Russia, and we're getting all these problems through the Ukraine, and that would not have happened if Biden did not
So
shut
you see,
down
the
Keystone
Ukraine,
pipeline.
the pipeline helped prompt Russia to invade Ukraine.
Yes, sir, because we've got all of this oil coming through from Russia to the United States, and they want the better routes to bring the oil through.
Can I clarify? This is what I'm talking about. That's not why they went into Ukraine. They went into Ukraine because Ukraine didn't want to be part of NATO. Listen, you're trying to work on the national stage, and you don't even know why the war started in Ukraine. It had nothing to do with the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline caused the inflation and the increase in our gas prices. The reason why they went into Ukraine is because Russia wanted Ukraine, as they had them pre-World War II, and Ukraine wanted to be part of NATO.
Respond, please.
He's right. I made a mistake.
All right. Walt,
And FYI, the United States gets about 3 to 6% of crude oil from Russia, which is now banned because of what's happening in Ukraine. We get less than 2% from the Ukraine. It is important to note as well that the U.S. would not benefit from the pipeline as TC Energy has claimed in the past. TC Energy is a Canadian company, and even with its expected production at the time, the effects on the market would be negligible. Just when I think we have hit rock bottom when it comes to stupidity, along comes another bright and shining star. Elijah Schaffer from the Blaze Network is a prime example. There is so much wrong with this statement, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, Native Americans, get the fuck out of America. You're on stolen land that you stole. And you want to know why Manifest Destiny happened? You don't know why we took it back? Because we couldn't live with you on the land because you guys kept declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we already traded and or bought from you. And you did not understand property rights because you were savages. And that's why you got the name that you did. Unfortunately for you, that's what happened. So you know what? It's just true.
So that does it for this past week. With that, I will bid you all peace. Take care.